Let me call the meeting to order, please. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to those who are joining us today. Public notice, please, Ada.
Good morning, everyone. Adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Publics Meeting Act. Notice has been posted at the board's office and has been emailed to the Department of State and to newspapers of broad circulation within the state.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon,
Here.
Commissioner Shivakula,
Oops, we're missing. I'm
Commissioner
sorry.
Shivakula,
He's there.
Here he is.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
President Fiorliso.
Here.
Is our general counsel here?
I'm sorry.
Is our general counsel present?
He actually just emailed me because he was having a hard time getting in. So oh no, he's here now. There he is.
Our next meeting, please.
Our
Okay.
next regular, yes, thank you. Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 7, 2021 at 10 a.m. via teleconference with details to follow.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ada. There will be no executive session today, but we do have a late starter. I want to make everyone aware that this late starter relating to program year 2 of the Community Solar Energy Pilot Program has been added to the agenda for today. The board will be taking action on this item at the end of the meeting. I am pleased to announce that we have received 2 solicitations for New Jersey's second offshore wind project. Despite the challenges that we have all faced in the past year, the pandemic being obviously the most obvious one, the schedule for the second offshore wind solicitation continues to move along smoothly. And we expect to make that award sometime in June. The BPU Offshore Wind Evaluation Committee obviously will, before that award is made, review the bids over the next several months. The Board of Public Utilities remains fully committed to achieving Governor Murphy's goal of 7,500 megawatts of offshore wind produced electricity by 2035. There's been some question about the EMP ratepayer impact study. As some of you know, we began to look at how to analyze the Energy Master Plan rate impacts months before COVID hit New Jersey. When we began this process, we could not have possibly imagined what life would be like today. COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc on the health of our residents and the health of the economy, and has had wide-ranging implications on every sector, including energy and transportation. We are committed to thoroughly analyze the ratepayer impacts, but we must take into account how the economy and the world has changed. As we look to build a strong, fairer, and healthier New Jersey in the new environment we find ourselves in, it is incumbent upon the board to consider the potential implications of the COVID virus in any rate impact analysis, so we can provide the most current and accurate assessment possible. One was done. We didn't feel it provided that. We didn't agree with the numbers and so on. So we're going to be doing it again. We will provide an update on this effort in the coming months and hope to provide that sooner than later. I am happy and I am sad to report that Jim Giuliano, our Director of Reliability and Security, will be retiring at the end of this month. Jim, who is filling in for me at the press conference today regarding the storm, has been a faithful and loyal public employee for 40 years. 40 years and has provided so much information to each and every one of us and to previous boards over the years. Jim will be, I'm sure, enjoying his retirement, and but we will miss him. And we will miss those emails that we get about how many outages we have. And but I know we all wish Jim only the best, good health, and long years in retirement. We have not found yet a replacement for Jim. So in the interim, Bob Brapston will be the acting director of that division, which is such an important division within the structure of the Board of Public Utilities. So I will keep you certainly up to date as we proceed in trying to find a replacement for Jim. Chris Molnar, Cable, is also retiring and has devoted many years to the citizens of New Jersey and to the Board of Public Utilities. Yetta Summers from administration is retiring. And Yetta has been a fixture in our training program for over the years that I've been on the board. And I know you join with me in wishing all of them, Jim and Chris and Yetta, only health and happiness during their retirement years, and that they always have a home here at the BPU. As you all know, we're expecting a snowstorm today. Aren't we lucky? I figure it's probably an appropriate way to end 2020. It's been such a wonderful year, so we might as well end it on a, I can't even say that with a straight face. We might as well end it on a negative note. So it's a line, north of the turnpike. It's supposed to get a lot more. South Jersey, it looks like right now, is not going to, is going to be primarily a rain event. Along the coast is going to be a rain and wind event. We're hopeful that the winds are not dramatic in the northern part of the state, because that's when obviously we got a lot of outages. So Stacy Peterson may be a hermit for a number of days where she lives, and so on. So anybody in the northern part of the state, Bob, you and me, and Mariana, we're in for some enjoyable couple of days, and I think you, Pendra, you're probably in that mix too. So go out and build a snowman or something. Diane, I think you're the one who's going to miss it.
Yeah. For me.
So,
Yeah.
so
I'll cook.
and you'll deliver it to all of us?
Oh, I thought you'd come down.
Oh, okay.
She can come and visit us. She can come and visit us.
Yeah, bring soup.
Yeah, that'll
With
be
this
good.
impending storm, and this is what Jim's going to announce at the press conference today. Please, if you do have or lose power, please notify your utility ASAP. And I would suggest that you charge all of your devices today, your cell phone, your computer, and whatever other device has to be charged. And please, if there are any down wires, and this is for the general public, I know the folks on our staff know this, and our my colleagues know this. If there are any down wires, please stay away from them. You have to assume that the wire is hot. And in past years, we have lost people who have touched a hot wire. And you're playing with your life. So just stay away from any down wires, and make sure that, again, you notify your utility. Also, I just want to remind everyone that Those of you who are having difficulty paying your electric bill, your heating bill, your gas bill, your water bill, contact your utility. Try to set up a payment plan with them. They're more than willing to sit down and work with you. As I've said many, many times, moratoriums are not going to last forever. There's going to be a day of reckoning, so to speak. So please, to avoid a traumatic experience at the end of the moratorium, call your utility, set up a payment plan, and try to pay something if you're able to decrease the amount of money that you owe them. I want to take this opportunity also to wish everyone again a happy Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas to those who celebrate Christmas. This is a joyful time, and I think we have to make it joyful, particularly this year. Even if we're not getting together with family or friends like we normally do for these wonderful holidays. The hope is, of course, that we're all going to be alive and really celebrate next year. But if we're taking risks, we have a problem, and we may not be here next year because of those risks that are taken. And not to be a downer, but I mean, just reality. So stay safe. Peace. I wish you all during this holiday season, and take care of yourself and take care of one another. Any other of my colleagues have any comments they would like to make? Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, to the 3 employees who are retiring, well-deserved time off. The Yetta has always been terrific at, sort of the spirit of the BPU, whether it's organizing things for CPR training or scarves and gloves or toys for the underprivileged. She's been terrific that way, and I'm going to miss her around the office. She's a lot of fun. Chris Molnar. Chris, he's not retiring. His wife, Wendy, has a job jar for him like you wouldn't believe. But I've known Chris since before I came to the board, so I can say that. As for Jim Giuliano, he's an excellent communicator. And I truly appreciate how respectful he is of the commissioners' opinions and concerns. And he will be hard to replace. And I guess there are some federal requirements and things that are for that job as well. So it's not going to be an easy one finding those people. On a two personal notes, first I want to wish a Merry Christmas to all. And I say, let's get 2020 behind us, bring on a happy 2021 and more continued BPU milestones. It's been, wow, a weird year. We've done so much this year at the board. And also a heartfelt thank you to Governor Murphy. During his daily COVID updates, he paid tribute to my buddy and former police chief, Vinny Chirico, who succumbed to COVID last week after an 8-month battle. And really was a very lovely and lengthy tribute. So thank you, Governor Murphy. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too would like to add my best wishes to Jim, Chris, and Yetta as they begin their retirement. I had a number of occasions to work with Jim on issues of mutual interest, and I just found he has been an exceptional public servant, and want to thank him particularly for his service since we worked together on some things. And also just want to wish everyone a very happy holiday season and a happy new year.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. President?
Yes.
I also want to give my heartfelt thanks to all those who are making it to the retirement bubble. Jim in particular has been an amazing public servant, and an area that he brought to the fore that's now become a national issue is in the area of cybersecurity. He was way ahead of the curve and had this board way ahead of the curve when it came to looking at that issue. I mean, that's just one area, I would like to highlight of his service amongst all the other contributions that he made. And to Yetta, who knows more about the agency and what's going on behind the walls, in front of the wall. She just was great in providing, especially as a new commissioner, the lay of the land and getting you what you needed to move forward. So wish her all the best as well. And happy holidays to everyone. Please enjoy, be safe, and still make lots of food and drink and enjoy.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I join you. I think I echo your comments, sentiments about what has transpired this year, and looking forward to 2021. But I just want to congratulate Yetta. I miss Yetta because she used to come and Commissioner, did you finish your training? I have somebody going to come and bug me for the training, and wish her well. And Chris, I think, I'm sure, as Commissioner Holden said, he'll be busy fixing up things, and wives have a way of getting to husbands, so she will keep him occupied. And then, of course, Jim Juliana, what do you say? He likes hot food and he's very active. And he always, when I share my travel, travel stories, and he loves all those things. And he's a terrific guy. And I am sure he's going to have a great retirement. I don't know whether he'll be quiet, but he'll have a great retirement. I wish all of them well. And also, I want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas and happy Kwanzaa. I think, just one more thing we want to add to that list. And since we won't be seeing all of them, all of you, I guess, wish a very happy and prosperous, exciting new year. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you all. We will now go to the consent agenda, Ada.
Yes, thank you. On the following consent agenda items, 1A, 1B, 5A, and the approval of the minutes for the October 2nd, 2020 agenda meeting and the October 14, 2020 agenda meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. All right. That brings us to our regular agenda and audits. Alice, you're up. And the first item involves Rockland Electric.
Good morning, Mr. President and
Good
Commissioners.
morning.
I'm so excited for the snow. I don't know if everyone else is, but I am.
Oh, great, Alice. Right. You can come shovel my
need it.
driveway. How's that?
Are you going to do an audit of, you're going to do an audit of the snow?
Well, hopefully hopefully a lot of people will get in some skiing, or at least cross-country skiing. So we'll see. Well, this agenda, item 1A, involves the audit, a comprehensive management audit of Rockland Electric Company, and an audit of their affiliated transactions between Rockland, Orange and Rockland Utilities, Consolidated Edison, Inc., and their affiliates. Previously, you may recall, you accepted the final audit report prepared by Silver Point Consulting, LLC, for filing purposes only, and it was released for comments. We did receive comments from both Rockland Electric and the Division of Rate Counsel. Today, staff is asking that you render a decision on the 11 Silver Point recommendations set forth in the audit report. The draft implementation order for your consideration today was prepared by audit staff, and it was reviewed by the Divisions of Energy, Service Reliability and Security, Customer Assistance, and the Office of the Economist, and I want to thank them all for helping us get this done. The audit covered a wide range of areas of review, such as executive management and corporate governance, customer service, external relations, accounting, purchases and procurement, and other departments within the company. The audit also included a review of the affiliate relations between Rockland and its parent and all the affiliates. The 11 recommendations in Silver Point's final report were intended to improve the overall management of the company and to ensure that any costs being allocated to Rockland are done in a fair and equitable manner. Rockland agreed with 5 of the recommendations, disagreed with 5 of them, and agreed with and partially agreed with 1 of them. Ray Council supported most of the recommendations and also suggested some modifications. Staff recommends that Rockland Electric be directed to implement the 11 recommendations as modified in the draft order before you today, and for Rockland to formulate a detailed implementation plan within 60 days from the effective date of the order in this matter. Specifically with regard to recommendation 8-1, although reviewed by Silver Point during the course of the audit, staff believes that a more thorough review is necessary of the joint operating agreement and power supply agreements and recommends that the board order a follow-up audit of the origins and details of the costs allocated to Rockland, including costs passed on to Rockland directly and or indirectly, to ensure that Rockland is being allocated in a fair and equitable manner, and the allocation factors used to allocate such costs are more reflective of the way in which costs are incurred, which also are supportive of the comments received by Ray Council. Staff further agreed with Ray Council's suggestion and recommends that Rockland be directed to provide the additional New York ring fencing conditions arising from Con Ed Inc.'s additional non-regulated activities and investments, and an analysis of how the additional ring fencing conditions will provide additional protections to Rockland and its New Jersey ratepayers for further review by staff, including the Office of the Economist and the Division of Audits and Energy. So staff is recommending that you approve the recommendations in the audit report as modified in the order, and that you order Rockland to provide an implementation plan within the 60 days of the date of this order.
So moved.
Second, yeah.
Questions, comments?
Mr.
Yeah, I just-
President,
Yes, sir. There you are.
I defer to Commissioner Chivukula.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Gordon. Mr. President, thank you. And Alice, one of the things is that I know the audit was done some time ago. We went back and forth, to be exact, in July of 2019, we went back and forth. Since that time, we have several storms, and one of the things of recently, the SIS, we had a challenge because even New York is not very happy with the performance of Con Edison, the parent company, and in New Jersey, we really did not get support. I know you captured a lot of those things also in the audit. Why are they resisting some of the comments? Are they going to? I mean, we're going to order them, but I think it's good to get them to come our way.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last point. Come our
way, yeah, like trying to see, because instead of I think there must be some reason why they are not agreeing, whatever it is. I think probably some more communication probably will be helpful, I think.
Okay, they did, we did in the audit, it was during the audit period, they found that they improved their safety metrics, but their duration of their customers being out actually was not up to the BPU's requirements. And so there were concerns expressed within the body of the audit and their review. And especially we thought that as they automate with further reclosures on their system and they can redirect power through different lines, it seems to us that both should be improved. And so they recognize that that is an issue. And one of the concerns expressed too, did they maybe have less employees out in the field? Were maybe they, and that's a concern. Why, if you now have automation in certain areas of your system where there were outages and they were recovered or restored very quickly due to automation, then it should leave your resources, the remaining resources, to attend to those areas where the other outages are that may have not yet been automated. So you would think that both the duration as well as the number of outages certainly the duration would be improved. So they'd be able to quickly and more effectively and efficiently dispatch their crews to those areas, because they don't have to worry as much about areas that would otherwise have been have outages, but were quickly recovered due to automation. So that is something. I mean, we can further look at that in the body of another audit to see if they've made some improvements in what they're doing. I mean, we are asking them to look into that. They agree that this is something that they have to focus on.
Yeah, Alice, one thought is that as they are, automation is going to affect the workforce. I think they may want to look at what kind of cross-training programs that they have, so that the staff that were doing some jobs can be reallocated to or reassigned to different work assignments. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm sorry, we could certainly, add a little bit more. I don't know if the Ada, will allow me to make a little, tweak the order a little bit to make it more clear, and we can ask them for a little bit more information in this area to make sure that they provide that to us more clearly, if you want us.
As long as it's not a major change.
No, I don't think it would be. It is covered in here, and I think we're good, but.
Question?
Yes.
Rockland has indicated that they disagree with about half of the recommendations. What happens if they don't implement our recommendations? What leverage do we have?
Well, we're going to look at their implementation plan. We have great, as far as I have always been told since I've been here, the board has, a lot of, and I know Abe can speak to this, he's the lawyer, but we have great jurisdiction over the utilities. And I think that if there is obviously a plausible and reasonable explanation for why maybe a certain recommendation should be modified, or maybe they're doing it in a different manner, which they can prove to us solves the issue, that's fine, because they're at least resolving the issues that were uncovered in the audit. And we will work with them, and but they have to comply. And this is part of the implementation, and we will be before you if we're having difficulty with them implementing the recommendations here. And we feel that it's not going to correct some of the concerns that were seen by Silver Point in the audit report. And then we can go from there. So I think they will work with us. I mean, honestly, I think that there will be areas that they may argue, like there was one area where they have two different systems that track their infrastructure, and one is a new system which tracks it more where issues are on the system, where they've had failures on the system, and then the other one is the planning design system where they look at how they're going to plan their system. And there was a suggestion that maybe the two should be coordinated better so that they incorporate, which they argue they already do, but maybe with using two systems to coordinate them better so that the one system which looks more closely at where there are problems in the system will also be tied into the planning. I think they do that more, I should say, I don't want to say manually, but it's something that they can incorporate into a system where it would be more efficient. And we will work with them to make sure that this is done so that they achieve the benefits of making sure that their planning design reflects where the issues are in their system.
And I just to reemphasize that, Alice, you have to keep us up to date on whether or not they comply with those recommendations, and if necessary, this board will order them to do it, and so on. So that's the basic leverage here. It's certainly not the daily fines, which we're working,
Right.
by the way, with this.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairlisa.
Yes. 1B, Alice, New Jersey American Water.
Yes, before you today is the matter involving another comprehensive management audit, but this time of New Jersey American Water Company, and an audit of affiliated transactions with New Jersey American Water, American Water Works Company, Inc., and their affiliates, including a review of the overall operations financial performance of New Jersey American Company. On December 3rd of 2020, Schumacher and Company submitted its final report. Staff is not seeking a ruling today on the merits of each of the recommendations set forth in the final report at this time. Staff is, however, asking that you accept the final report for filing purposes only and release the public version of the final report for comments to be due January 31st of 2021. Staff believes that the Schumacher and Company satisfactorily completed the audit report and it is consistent with the terms of the agreement between the board and Schumacher. Staff further recommends that the holdback fees in the amount of $126,704 pending acceptance of this audit report for filing purposes only be released to Schumacher and Company.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairlisa.
Yes. And 1C, Alice, JCP&L and First Energy.
Yes. This matter involves staff's request to commence an affiliated transaction audit between Jersey Central Power and Light Company, the parent, First Energy Corporation, and its affiliates, and a comprehensive management audit of Jersey Central Power and Light. Staff drafted for your consideration a request for proposal, which includes a phase 1 and a phase 2 of the audit. The phase 1 portion of this audit is the comprehensive management audit. The comprehensive management audit will be performed in accordance with the New Jersey statutes and our administrative code, and it's as identified in section 3.2 of this RFP. But it also includes two sections: utility operations and executive management. There will be a comprehensive review of the utility operations, which will examine but not be limited to the management structure of the utility operations, decision-making processes of JCP&L operations, and management of the distribution company for maintenance projects, distribution system upgrades, smart grid to improve system reliability and resiliency of JCP&L's distribution system under the normal course of business and during severe or any storm event. There will be a review of the vegetation management and JCP&L's customer service operations, and more specifically, communication and coordination of repairs during normal and storm events internally and externally to the company. This will include how the company can improve communications with their customers and municipal officials during storm events. It will also include a review and analysis of the distribution system to determine whether there are portions of their distribution system that are prone to outages that, if placed underground, would improve reliability and resiliency of the system during normal and storm-related events in a cost-effective and efficient manner, as it would result in the avoidance of large-scale outages. The executive management section will examine the typical areas in a comprehensive management audit review structure of the organization of the company, each department from cybersecurity, customer relations to the board of directors. In addition, it will examine the internal and external investigations of First Energy and its impact on JCP&L and its New Jersey customers, and examine whether New Jersey is sufficiently insulated from any risks associated with activities of its affiliates and parent company. The second phase of the audit will review the affiliate transactions and allocation of costs between affiliates, the holding company, and JCP&L. This section will determine whether the company is complying with the board's affiliate relations and fair competition standards. Staff recommends that the board permit audit staff to release the request for proposal to the pool of 6 qualified management consultants to solicit bids to perform the scope of work.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Alice?
Yeah, Mr. President, I have one question. Yeah. Alice, recently we held, President Fiordaliso held a public meeting about the JCP&L and their parent company, the financial relationships. One of the things that stood out was the JCP&L participating in the money pool arrangements, and they have $1.65 billion of money, and and then also JCP&L has most of the debt is unsecured debt, and unsecured debt causes a lot of risk to the ratepayers. Now, participating in the money pool may seem it's okay, but if the parent company's credit rating goes down, their interest rates go up, and that is going to affect the money pool. So I just want to make sure that is there any possibility we can add some oversight into that in the audit?
I can certainly add a section on that to be more specific to that area. Normally they do look at the overall financial activities of the company and debt and borrowing. But we can be more specific in the scope of work, and I will add something in there. I will double check, but it is overall, they do look at that. And they look at the financial health and where, and the money pool. I will ensure though that this is more specific, because I am adding a few edits to it right now to just incorporate a few things based upon my discussions with the commissioners. And so I can add that and make sure.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you.
Okay.
Any of those changes substantial, Alice?
It was discussed actually in this discussion today regarding being a little bit more clear as to examining the possibility of placing portions of its system underground, and if it's efficient and cost effective, but it would give you the biggest bang for the buck. In other words, avoid outages for large areas. So that we just wanted to be more clear on. And I did forward them, I forwarded those edits to staff for their review. And Ada, you are aware of it, so I I can get that out to you all today.
All right, is there any legal difficulty here? Abe? No? Okay. All right, as long as we're on legal ground. All right. Any other comments or questions?
President?
Yes.
I want to echo some of the comments of Commissioner Shivakula. I would also be curious, since my question was only partially answered during the mitigation or the creditworthiness hearing. How much New Jersey has contributed to that money pool? What percentage each year? Their answer was they only borrowed from it in 2019 and 2020. But it would be interesting to see how much each of the companies, the 10 EDCs, each contribute to that money pool. Also, I'm going to be particularly interested in the impact of First Energy's transactions on JCP&L, and hope we can determine the degree of performance independence that JCP&L has, where it doesn't have to keep asking the parent company for permission.
We have included in there a full review of the decision-making process with respect to capital projects and infrastructure on the operation side, and how much independence do they have. And that whole process, which will look at how, who determines really where repairs should be done, where is it from the bottom up, where the engineering people or the folks in the field who are really working with the issues specific to New Jersey, how much of a say do they really have in that whole process and decision making that ultimately goes forward, where they can spend the money where it really needs to be spent.
The same goes with storms too, in where the decision being allowed to be made in New Jersey for New Jersey. And I just want to add also, Alice, I think you and your team did a great job. It's a very, very thorough RFP.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We can actually say that for all of the utilities that are owned by out-of-state entities, and how much independence they have, whether we're talking about JCP&L or we're talking about ACE or we're talking about Rockland. They are all owned by outside entities, and if we're going to do it for JCP&L, let's do it for all of them when we do an audit. How much independence do they have, and are the decisions made locally, depending on what is needed here in New Jersey, or is Akron making those decisions, or is Exxon making those decisions, or is Con Ed making those decisions?
Good.
So I think that has to be then a standard for any of the audits that we do regarding those outside entities.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. Any questions? Any more comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Shivakula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelisa.
Yes. Well, thank you, Alice, and you enjoy your snow here.
Well, my son got skis last year, and he hasn't been able to use them at all. He has cross-country skis. We did get him maybe 2 years ago, and he hasn't been able to use them.
I'm having trouble finding sympathy for that, Alice. I'm sorry.
All right, well, I'm hoping he gets a chance. Anyway,
I
all right.
just this one time, all right?
Make sure it
Okay.
doesn't
Alright.
get lost. Yeah.
Well, New Jersey's supposed to have cold and snow weather.
Is it?
Anyway,
I'll bring
all right,
my
have a
plow.
great day. Be
I'll bring
safe.
my plow to your house, Alice.
Okay. All right, take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Stacy, good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
We can
Yes.
hear you, we can see you, and 2A involves ACE.
Yeah, but before I get started, I did just want to make sure that I mentioned that our DAG Alex Moreau is also retiring at the end of this month. So I did want to.
Oh, is that right? I
Yeah.
did not know that, Alex. If you're on, I want to thank you then thank you, Stacy, for all your years of service to the BPU, and wish you well and a healthy, long retirement.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So if it's okay with you, President, I will do one presentation for agenda items 2A through 2E. There will still need to be a vote on each item.
Okay, you go for it, Stacy.
Okay, I'm gonna go for it.
All right.
On May 23rd, 2018, Governor Murphy signed a law that required the board to implement a zero emission certificate program within specified timelines. Under the act, the board must approve certain eligible nuclear energy generators to receive ZECs, which New Jersey's electric distribution companies would be required to purchase. The act also provided that the board shall order the full recovery of the EDC's costs associated with the purchase ZECs through a non-bypassable charge imposed on each EDC's retail distribution customers. The EDCs were further directed to file a tariff to recover the program cost from retail customers at a charge of 0.004 per kWh, and to return excess monies to the retail customers at the end of each energy year. On October 23rd, each EDC submitted a filing seeking to refund the excess ZEC collections and the corresponding interest related to energy years 2019 and 2020. For a typical residential electric customer using 650 kWh per month, the monthly bill impact of the October filings for each EDC is as follows. A decrease of 11 cents per month for ACE, PSE&G, and RICO, and a decrease of 10 cents per month for Butler Electric and JCP&L. Staff recommends the board approve the tariffs and rate changes as proposed by each EDC and direct the EDCs to file revised tariffs prior to January 1st for service rendered on and after January 1st.
So moved.
Well, we are to take these individually, right?
Right.
Oh, do we?
All right.
So,
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Well,
Oh.
I moved it. Marianne, you want to second it?
well, I thought we had to move them individually.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you want us to do it individually, Joe?
you have
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry if there's confusion. Right,
Okay.
Stacy, individually, am I right?
Yeah, each item will need its own vote.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on 2A first, correct?
There are two separate dockets in 2A. There's the one in the matter of the implementation of regarding the establishment of zero emission certificate program for eligible power plants. And in the matter of the application of Atlantic City Electric Company for approval to implement a zero emission certificate charge and tariff page related thereto to support the ZEC program authorized in a board order initiating the ZEC program dated August 29, 2018. And I so do move.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairlisa.
Yes. On 2B, regard Butler. Stacy?
I will move in the matter of the petition of Butler Electric for approval of zero emission certificate recovery charge.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairliso.
Yes. 2C regarding JCP&L.
In the matter of the petition of Jersey Central Power and Light Company for approval of a zero emission certificate recovery charge, I so do move.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairliso.
Yes. 2D regarding PSE&G ZEX.
In the matter of the petition of Public Service Electric and Gas Company for approval of a zero emission certificate recovery charge, I so do move.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairliso.
Yes. And finally, 2E, Rockland Electric and ZEX.
In the matter of the petition of Rockland Electric Company for approval of zero emission certificate recovery charge, I so do move.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairliso.
Yes. So that brings us down, Stacy, to 2F and Atlantic City Electric item.
Yes. On October 29th, Atlantic City Electric filed a petition seeking authority to maintain the administrative fee and rider regi associated with the company's SREC 2 program for calendar year 2021. The company's SREC 2 program was approved by the board in December 2013, and the administrative fee for the program participants was set at $17.07 per SREC. According to ACE, using the cost recovery provisions from the December 2013 order, the company would have to increase the administrative fee to $69.67 per SREC, which may cause participants to withdraw from the program. Accordingly, ACE requested authorization to carry forward the unrecovered balance and to maintain the $17.07 fee and maintain the rider regi rate at zero. Staff recommends the board issue an order in this matter approving the maintenance of the administrative fee for the SREC 2 program at the board's previously approved rate of $17.07 for calendar year 2021. The parties will continue to review all other issues related to the petition.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fairliso.
Yes. 2G, Stacy, Rockland Electric.
Is 2G Rockland or JCP&L?
I have Rockland.
Rockland.
Okay, so on October 30th, 2020, Rockland Electric filed a petition seeking authority to maintain the administrative fee and rider regi surcharge associated with the company's SREC 2 program for calendar year 2021. The company's SREC 2 program was approved by the board in December 2013, and the administrative fee for program participants was set to $30 per SREC. According to Rockland, using the cost recovery provisions from the December 2013 order, the company would have to increase the administrative fee to $45.28 per SREC, which may cause program participants to withdraw. Accordingly, Rockland requested authorization to carry forward the unrecovered administrative fee balance for future recovery and to maintain the $30 fee. Rockland also proposed to establish the regi surcharge rate for the recovery of the SREC 2 program cost at zero. Staff recommends the board issue an order in this matter approving the maintenance of the SREC 2 administrative fee at the board's previously approved $30 per SREC for calendar year 2021. The parties will continue to review all other issues related to the petition.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Now, 2H, I have as JCP&L, Stacy.
Okay, on November 4th, JCP&L filed a petition seeking review and approval of the deferred balances accumulated during calendar year 2019 associated with its board-approved demand response and renewable energy programs. JCP&L also sought approval to increase the solar renewable energy certificates financing rider component of its rider RRC and to maintain the SREC 2 administrative fee at its current level for calendar year 2021. Similar to ACE and Rockland, the company's SREC 2 program was approved by a board order in December 2013, and the administrative fee was set at $17 per SREC. According to JCP&L, using the provisions from the December 2013 order, the company would need to decrease the administrative fee to $3.56 per SREC. JCP&L proposed a modification to the cost recovery mechanism based on projected SREC purchases through 2021. If the administrative fee is lowered, and should these projections not materialize, JCP&L stated it would be at risk of not recovering its administrative costs. Accordingly, JCP&L requested authorization to carry forward any balance and seek recovery in future annual periods and maintain the administrative fee at $17. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving the maintenance of the administrative fee at the board's previously approved $17 per SREC for calendar year 2021. Again, the parties will continue to review all other issues related to the petition.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. President, I just have a question. This is, Stacy, I know we talked about this in terms of the Reggie recovery fee. It's going to, how long this program is going to continue, and eventually we have to bring it out to zero it out, right?
So the SREC 2 program financing programs were 15-year contracts, and I believe they started in 2013, so it would be 15 years from then, but it would have been a couple of years until they got all of the projects signed up. So there is quite a bit of time, but the good thing about the way we set up the SREC 2 program was the program participants are actually paying the administrative fee. So the other customers are not paying the administrative fees for this.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Stacy, thank you.
Thank you all. I wish you all happy holidays and a happy new year. And I'm gonna go do the mold for the igloo at this point.
Okay, good. We'll come dig you out.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, that brings us to cable television and Luanda. How are you, Luanda?
Good morning. How are you?
I see that Verizon and their franchise is on the agenda.
That is correct, Mr. President. The matter on the agenda deals with the application filed by Verizon New Jersey seeking a renewal of its system-wide cable television franchise for a term of 7 years. By way of background, under the changes enacted by the legislature to the state's Cable Television Act in 2006, Verizon was able to obtain what is known as a system-wide cable TV franchise, which allowed Verizon to offer cable television service over its infrastructure used to provide telecommunications service. The board granted Verizon's first cable TV franchise in December 2006, authorizing service to 316 municipalities. The franchise was renewed under a board order issued in January 2014 for another 7-year term, with a total of 379 municipalities authorized, including the provision of service to Weymouth, and Estelle Manor townships, which were previously unserved. Since the approval of the renewal, Verizon has added an additional 12 municipalities for a total of 392 municipalities covered under the current franchise, which expires on December 18, 2020. Verizon, through this application being dealt with today, seeks the second renewal of its franchise. Pursuant to the requirements set forth under both federal and state law, board staff notified Verizon of its intention to review its performance under its system-wide franchise pursuant to federal and state guidelines in January 2018 during what is called the ascertainment phase. Subsequently, in February of this year, board staff invited Verizon to file comments on its performance under its franchise and to assess how it will meet the future needs of the communities it serves. Initial comments were filed by Verizon with the board on March 30th, 2020, and on May 5th, 2020, the board issued its ascertainment report. Verizon subsequently filed its renewal application on August 5th, 2020. Following Verizon's application filing, the board was required to hold 2 public hearings on the application. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearings were held remotely via telephone on September 29th and October 1st, 2020, and written comments were accepted as well. Several interested parties participated in the hearings and provided written comments, including municipal officials, residents, Chamber of Commerce officials, representatives of nonprofits, operators of PEG, which is Public Educational and Governmental Access Channels, as well as Verizon and Rate Council. Following its review of Verizon's application and the comments received, board staff sought additional follow-up information from Verizon through discovery requests, which concluded on December 9th. While all the comments generally supported approval of Verizon's application, there were several parties, including Rate Council, that recommended the board grant approval subject to certain conditions to address concerns focused on primarily 2 issues: Verizon's deployment plans in its service area and the provision of Verizon's PEG access channels, equipment, and training. On the first issue, several parties made requests to Verizon to extend its Fios service, including broadband, to unserved and underserved towns within its footprint, especially rural areas. In addition, many commenters also requested that Verizon be required to provide its service to the entirety of all towns within its New Jersey service area. Parties highlighted the need for the availability of Verizon service due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the numerous stay-at-home orders, which have increased virtual learning, work from home, and telehealth uses. Unlike traditional cable television franchises, which generally cover the entirety of the municipalities that are served, Verizon's deployment requirements under the system-wide franchise are limited, pursuant to the State Cable Act, to the residential areas of only 70 towns, which represent the county seats and the most densely populated towns, with populations greater than 7,111 persons per square mile within its telephone service territory. The statute leaves it to Verizon's discretion to determine which additional towns it chooses to extend service to beyond the 70 required towns, and does not require that Verizon serve the entirety of any towns other than the required 70. Of the 392 towns currently included in Verizon's franchise, it currently provides service to all or parts of only 372 municipalities. Excuse me. Board staff concurs with the concerns raised regarding Verizon's lack of additional deployment, as was noted in our ascertainment report. Verizon's deployment appears to have ground to a screeching halt following completion of its build-out of the 70 required towns, with Verizon only adding an additional 12 towns to the franchise during the past 7 years. However, due to the current statutory restrictions, the board cannot require Verizon to provide Fios service to any towns beyond the 70 required ones, nor can the board require that Verizon serve the entirety of any town which it chooses to offer service to outside of the required 70 towns. The requirement of broadband service is also outside of the board's purview of the review of the system-wide cable TV franchise and cannot be considered within the context of this matter. However, in light of the concerns raised by the many municipal officials as well as Rate Council, staff recommends the board strongly urge Verizon to re-examine its future deployment plans in light of the increased need for service highlighted by the pandemic. Verizon should continue to engage with municipalities to find avenues to extend its service to address the many inquiries the board continues to receive in this regard from municipal officials and residents seeking access to Verizon's services. An additional staff recommendation in the board's order related to the deployment of service addresses pending filings by Verizon seeking waivers or mandatory access for deployments to multiple dwelling units known as MDUs, as required under the State Cable Act. During its deployment to the 70 required municipalities over the past 14 years, Verizon has filed numerous petitions with the board seeking waivers from providing service to MDUs, primarily due to the inability to reach agreements with the property owners. Verizon has also filed numerous petitions seeking mandatory access to certain MDU properties where residents have requested access to Verizon service. Board staff has continued to work with Verizon on the resolution of these matters, urging Verizon to continue negotiations to try and reach consensus to provide service to as many properties as possible. As noted in Verizon's comments to the board, they have provided subsequent reports to board staff and have withdrawn a large number of these petitions following successful completions of negotiations to gain access. Unfortunately, a large number still remain unresolved, and many cases having been filed early in Verizon's deployment schedule are much older dockets. In an effort to address concerns regarding Verizon's provision of service to MDUs and these outstanding petitions, staff recommends that Verizon immediately reach out to the parties to refresh the data on all the pending waiver and access cases and provide board staff with quarterly reports on their actions in this regard and the status of each case. The major second concern raised by commenters in this matter dealt with requests that Verizon be required to address the disparity of PEG channels being cablecast in standard definition or SD as opposed to high definition or HD. The Jersey Access Users Group, JAG, representing over 70 access channel operators throughout the state, argues that HD is the method Verizon uses to broadcast all other channels except PEG channels. And the broadcast of PEG channels in SD produces poor picture quality for the statutorily required PEG channels. They've also requested Verizon provide the statutorily required PEG equipment and training, as well as a designated contact person for municipalities, and request Verizon place PEG channels require that PEG channels be listed in Verizon's guide. Staff, as well as Rate Council, shares the concerns raised by JAG and several municipal officials regarding the disparity in the PEG channels and recommends that Verizon be required to upgrade its PEG channels to HD as requested to ensure the PEG channels remain operational to provide important information to subscribers, especially during the pandemic. Staff also recommends Verizon provide reports to staff on the PEG channel upgrade, as well as the requested provisions regarding PEG equipment and training availability and Verizon contact information. Therefore, I would also note that Verizon is still required to comply with additional statutory requirements as they relate to the provision of local offices, the provisions of free services to schools, libraries, and municipal locations, the provision of return lines, and compliance with all existing customer service requirements under the board's rules. Therefore, having reviewed the application, staff recommends that the board, subject to all applicable state and federal laws and rules and regulations of the Office of Cable TV and Telecommunications, grant Verizon a renewal system-wide cable television franchise for a term of 7 years, subject to the conditions as I have described, related to the PEG channel upgrade, equipment, training, and contact person, and refreshing the data on pending MDU and access cases and reporting requirements for both. And before I end, I'd like to thank Nancy Wolf for all of her hard work in getting this matter finalized. With that, staff recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Luanda?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make 2 points. And let me just say at the outset that they're not directed to Verizon specifically, but to cable companies in New Jersey generally. In the early 14th century, Dante Alighieri wrote his famous Divine Comedy, in which he depicted his vision of hell. If Dante were somehow able to come back to New Jersey in the 21st century and write an update describing his vision of hell, he might describe a New Jerseyan trying to attempt to contact customer service at their cable company. I can tell you personally that I had an experience within the last month of trying to reach the customer service operation of my own cable company, and it could be described as a nightmare. And so I discussed this issue with staff, and they advised me that this year, because Chapter 18, our regulations governing the Office of Cable Television are up for renewal, that we have an opportunity to take a fresh look at our regulations regarding customer service requirements for cable companies. And what I'd like to respectfully suggest to the board is that we think about developing performance standards for customer service, perhaps some performance metrics. And I'd like to suggest that we make this a priority, think about making this a priority for the year. We could, as we have in other matters, engage with our stakeholders, develop a straw proposal, get comments back, and make an effort to revise our performance standards. I really think this is something that could really affect the quality of life of most New Jerseyans. I know it's something that Governor Murphy would support, and I'd like to just throw that out for the board's consideration. Second point, which was raised by Luanda in her presentation. We all know that with education being offered remotely now, the so-called digital divide has become a really pressing issue. There are families, because of where they live or because of the resources they have available, simply do not have adequate access to digital resources. And I know that we have very little capability to promote the expansion of internet services because it's within federal jurisdiction. But I think we can make an effort to try to promote cable resources, which can be very helpful in this kind of situation we find ourselves in. I want to applaud Luanda and her staff for actually making note in her order of their interest in promoting cable service that Verizon offers to other areas. I'm glad that made the public record. And I'd just like to propose to the board that we look for ways that we can promote the expansion of cable services. And perhaps there's a need for the legislature to take another look at the Cable Act to give us greater authority in this area. I'd just like to make those 2 suggestions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Bob. And I'm going to let Luanda answer your first question, but there are performance matrix that each company should aspire to. And we do get reports because, as you rightfully say, we have very, very little control other than customer assistance. And I know Luanda and her staff are very, very on top of that. But I'll let you answer that, Luanda.
I'm sure, Mr. President. As you just stated, and as I have mentioned to all the commissioners, you are correct that unfortunately federal laws have continued to preempt our regulation of certain cable aspects. For instance, we no longer regulate cable TV rates for basic service or equipment as we did in the past. However, we do continue to regulate customer service, provisions of service in aspects as we are allowed under the current federal regulations. And we do have certain regulations in place and reporting requirements that the company still must fulfill. However, as you noted, Commissioner Gordon, we are looking at strengthening a lot of those requirements in our renewal of the Chapter 18 rules. And as you mentioned, there will be stakeholder meetings and comments will be collected from the public to address those concerns that you've raised.
And I might add to that also, not only cable TV, but telecommunications in general we've really been stripped of much oversight, not only by the federal government, but by our own New Jersey legislature.
That is correct.
That's right. So it action, and every time I talk to legislators, I encourage them on two things, among others. Number one, our fines are obscenely low. And someone has to have the courage in the legislature to pick up that mantle and run with it. Because our fining ability to fine a company for what we can fine them for, or the amount rather, everyone on this call probably could pay that fine if necessary. So that is certainly one area that we should and we continue to push for. Number two, give us a little more control over cable TV, telecommunications in general. And many, many years ago, that was stripped away from us by the legislature. So it's important. And all we're trying to do, I think, all of us, is trying to provide or ensure, we don't provide the service, obviously, but to ensure that the service is delivered. Because I sympathize with you, Bob. I had a similar experience a few years ago where I had to call my cable company on a Saturday night because my cable went out. I spent 2.5 hours on the phone, constantly getting disconnected. To the point where I'm not a violent man, to the point where I almost pulled the phone out of the wall. I mean, it was just frustrating. So citizens of New Jersey shouldn't have to go through that. And I know in many parts of the world, this may be a very minor thing, but we are paying a hefty amount to get that service, each and every one of us. A hefty amount that should at least guarantee us a minimum service. And I know Lawanda and her staff review those metrics constantly, and so on. So we need a little more teeth too, and that's something that has to come from the legislature. I didn't mean to go on and on, but just supporting your position, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mariana.
President Fiordaliso, I love it, Bob. That was an excellent description of customer service. Fantastic. I have to say, Lawanda, I don't know how you stay calm. It's good that I'm not negotiating these things, because you and your staff, really have worked very hard on behalf, in this case, of the Verizon customers. And, you're trying to spur competition and choice for customers. And, this is supposed to be a statewide franchise. And when people say, well, why can't, or, elected officials ask, why can't we connect? Why can't we be part of this? Why can't we have that competition in our town? I said, call your legislator, because our hands are tied. But I'm wondering if perhaps we should investigate Mississippi's model, and maybe Upendra is more knowledgeable about this, but in talking to Brandon Presley, the chair of Mississippi, they took money from their COVID relief package and created a Reconnect pilot program with the Tallahatchie Valley Electric Power Association, where they will be deploying fiber to premises network to provide homes and businesses in rural Mississippi with broadband services. And I'm wondering if that's something that we should look at for some of our more remote areas where, people need to connect, whether it's telehealth, education, or working. I don't think this is much of what we know today is going to really go back to the old normal. There are a lot of efficiencies that have been found in telecommuting and just access to information. So, and it should be equal access, not just for those people who can pay the exorbitant cable bills that we all have to endure, no matter who our cable company is.
True. Yep. And it's interesting, when we say remote areas, we never think of New Jersey. What do you mean remote areas in New Jersey? I can only imagine what it is like in Wyoming when you talk about remote areas, or Montana or North Dakota.
Well, you make a good point, Commissioner, and that's one of the hurdles that we face in New Jersey, because, as you just stated, people don't think that the most densely populated state in the nation has quote unquote remote areas. And so the states that you just mentioned are at the top of that chain when you're thinking of providing aid to provide service to remote areas. And New Jersey tends to be sort of an afterthought. But
Right.
We do have remote and rural areas that do need the same types of aid. And so to your point, Commissioner Holden, we do continue to monitor the actions from other states through the NARUC Telecommunications Committee, which we participate in. And so we do look at what the other states are doing and try to see if there are areas that we could piggyback on here in the state. So
Good.
That's
Yeah.
definitely something that we look at as well.
Great. And Marietta, just one other thing. Can you please tell us, Chairman Presley, who he's related to?
Elvi, Elvis,
The king,
first cousin.
first cousin.
Oh, I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
There's about,
Yeah.
I think he was about 2 weeks old when Elvis died in '77. So, but that's neither here nor there. It's similar voice.
Does he play the guitar?
Yes, he does.
Okay, there you go. All right. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Bob. Yes, you, Pedro, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think a couple of things I want to bring out regarding the MDUs, which are the multiple dwelling units. Lavanda, maybe we may need to work with DCA, Department of Community Affairs. They may have more of a jurisdiction with them. And we need to bring this closure. This issue has been going on for several years, and see whether we can do something there. Also, the Commissioner Holden, this is not a statewide franchise, it's actually called system-wide franchise, because it was the legislation. No, it's important. The legislation was written for Verizon at that time. And wherever the Verizon had a central office, from that they had a central office system. So they were able to provide the extended broadband cables, the fiber cables and all that. That's how the whole thing started. And there was a lot of discussion about complete coverage of the state, and then how legislature works. And it's been 14 years. It's been going on. I mean, it's been a whole legislation. So I think we need a system. Instead of system-wide, we need statewide franchise. You correctly pointed out, we need that for the state of New Jersey, because especially when you go to Salem Township in Salem County, they have, when you look at their landline services being taken away, and they're getting what's called fixed wireless provision is there. For that, they're able to get the Wi-Fi signals, and they're able to do that. So Verizon, they're able to do that. So we need to figure out a way, post-COVID, we have a lot of things have changed. And as Commissioner Gordon pointed out, digital divide, but I think the digital divide issue goes beyond the cable connection, because as Governor Murphy pointed out, that there are few devices for these families. They don't even have the proper computer equipment to access, even if they had the broadband connection. So we have multiple problems there. So we need to think about taking the help of the legislature. We need to think about what is allowed and permitted by the FCC, because the FCC preempts us in many other areas. So we want to make sure what is we have available, and so how we can innovatively. I think 5G is going to solve some of the problems, but the problem with 5G is that it's going to be extremely expensive. So we need to figure out how to come up with that. I think I mentioned it to Lawanda in the briefings. I think we can offline work on that.
Yeah, I wanted to also chime in, on the technology issue. A lot of people are cutting the cord, not really looking to, join in on what's currently available. And I think technology, to some extent, will guide us as to how we should be addressing this problem. But as Commissioner Shivakula said, they keep saying 5G. How long is that going to be before it's actually going to kick in and provide the service to those who truly need it? But we'll have to look at all the technologies that are available and see how to, Wi-Fi, broadband, cable, fiber. It's see where they are in the marketplace, and how best to deploy that to the areas of the state that need them.
Yeah, indeed. And the cable companies will tell you, all of them, that they're losing subscribers, and because of all the other venues out there. But all right, that's great. Thank you, everyone. If there are no other comments or questions, I think we need to take roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Shivakula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fioraliso.
Yes, thank you, Lawanda.
Thank you, commissioners. I just wanted to quickly also add my congratulations to Jim and Yetta, and especially Chris Molnar in the Office of Cable TV and Telecommunications. And I completely agree with you, Commissioner Holden. He's going to be very busy after retirement. And wish all of you a happy holidays.
Thank you. You too. There are no items under telecommunications. That brings us to water. Mike, what do you have for us?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Happy holidays.
And to you.
Okay. Commissioners, before you today is a staff recommendation concerning the water and wastewater rules. The New Jersey Administrative Procedure Act, or Act, requires that each state agency adopt regulations or rules that commit each agency to carry out its statutory authority. To keep the rules current, the Act provides that each rule sunset or expire every 7 years. The rules governing the water and wastewater industries are set forth in NJAC 14:9 and were last adopted by the board on February 19th, 2014. They are therefore set to expire on February 19th, 2021. Staff is recommending that the board readopt the water and wastewater rules without change. Staff further recommends that the board initiate a rulemaking by authorizing the publication of the proposed readoption of the water and wastewater rules in an upcoming issue of the New Jersey Register. The rules found at NJAC 14:9 provide for the safe, adequate provision of water and wastewater service by the regulated water and wastewater utilities, and readoption of the rules without change will ensure seamless continuance of the board's oversight of the water and wastewater utilities within the state. I'd like to thank Suzanne Patnard and Megan Lupo for all their hard work on this matter. And I would also like to add my congratulations and well wishes to Alex Moreau from the DAGs, and to Chris Molnar and Yetta Summers and Jim Giuliano. It's been a pleasure working with the four of them. I'm going to miss them, and I wish them well in their future.
I'll move staff's
you, Mike.
recommendation.
Second.
Questions, comments for Mike? Roll call?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
We have no items under reliability and security or customer assistance. That brings us down to clean energy. And I think Stacy Richardson is up first. Stacy,
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
This matter is a contract extension with the Rutgers Center for Green Building, a research center within the Blaustein School for Planning and Public Policy at Rutgers University. The proposed contract year 4 would extend the overall contract term and budget with RCGB from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, based on a scope of work that includes program evaluation and market assessment professional services, and that reflects the evolving role of RCGB given the energy efficiency transition. Staff requests board approval to extend the contract in accordance with the established requirements and per the state standard terms and conditions.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments for Stacy?
I guess the only question I had was, President, this is the person that, or the group that is, you talked about the rate analysis earlier in your remarks, that is going to be conducting that on our behalf?
Mhm.
Is that included in, the this contract and they're required to do?
I can address that. There is a potential for us to do that work with Rutgers. There's also flexibility for that work to be done with another partner if it's determined, if the board would determine to pursue that course.
Right, but I was just, following up to say, they were the ones that were engaged up until this point. It's not that we haven't
Yes, that's
moved
correct.
forward with that. I imagine that, work, I presume has already been done to some extent.
I'm sorry, Diane. You cut out on me. I didn't hear what you asked. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I said, I presume that there's work that has already been done, that, they've been engaged for some time to be doing this rate analysis, I think a lot of people have made reference to and been waiting for. So I imagine that this is going to be a continuation of their getting something to us.
Yeah, that's the plan. And we just want to make sure what we publicly put out is right. And that's really the bottom line here. So yes, we're proceeding, and hopefully, as I indicated to you privately, within a relatively short period of time, hopefully we'll have something that we're all comfortable with.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear that we haven't been sitting around, that someone has been engaged to do this up and, it's not something new. It's something that's been ongoing.
That's correct. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Stacy, that brings us to an RFQ.
Correct. This matter is a request for quotations to engage a contractor to serve as a statewide evaluator and oversee the evaluation, measurement, and verification, or EM&V, of New Jersey's next generation of energy efficiency and peak demand reduction programs. In its June 10th, 2020 energy efficiency order, the board approved the development of a consistent, standard, and transparent approach to EM&V for energy efficiency programs established pursuant to the Clean Energy Act. The board also approved establishment of an EM&V working group to develop recommendations for the board's consideration on the state's EM&V practices. The board directed staff to solicit the professional services of a statewide evaluator to facilitate and lead the EM&V working group. Staff has therefore developed this RFQ for a statewide evaluator to lead the development of an approach to EM&V, including guidelines, methods, inputs, and schedules that is robust, accurate, transparent, consistent, and replicable statewide. The statewide evaluator will ensure that this approach is applied to all state and utility administered energy efficiency programs and used to continually improve the design and delivery of energy efficiency programs in the state. Some of the statewide evaluator's primary responsibilities are to do the following through leadership of and collaboration with the EM&V working group, which staff looks forward to establishing early next year. 1, develop and prepare a master evaluation plan for each planning cycle of utility administered, co-managed, and state administered EE programs. Develop quality assurance and quality control plans for evaluation data, activities, and results. That was 2. 3, develop a plan for a cycle of statewide studies and evaluations related to the EM&V of New Jersey's EE programs. 4, maintain and update statewide references, such as the New Jersey Protocols to Measure Resource Savings and the New Jersey Cost Test. And 5, provide annual reporting on the results of state and utility-led EE programs. All of the statewide evaluators work with the EM&V working group will be advisory to staff and the board. Staff requests the board's approval to release this RFQ for a statewide evaluator.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I just have one question, Mr. President. Stacy, under the document review, 1.2.1, pre-proposal submission document review, you may want to think about adding RGGI related, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, the RGGI Funds Act, and other things, because there are some dependencies on energy efficiency in that area.
Sure, that's we can do that, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. 8C, Stacy, regarding Butler Power and Light.
Yes, this matter also pertains to EE, energy efficiency. In its June 10th, 2020 EE order, the board established a framework for EE programs established pursuant to the Clean Energy Act, including requirements for the electric and gas public utilities to establish programs that reduce the use of electricity and natural gas within their territories. Butler Electric is a municipal electric utility in Morris County that is owned and operated by the Borough of Butler and that serves residential and commercial customers in the boroughs of Butler, Bloomingdale, and Kinnelon, and that partially services the township of West Milford and the borough of Riverdale. This past June, in light of the differences between Butler Electric and the investor-owned electric and gas utility companies, staff recommended that the board not require Butler Electric to file an EE program petition at the same scale, along the same timeline, and according to the same requirements as applicable to the other public utilities. Staff also noted that customers throughout New Jersey, including within Butler service territory, should have access to EE program offerings. The board accepted staff's recommendations and directed staff to return with recommendations specific to Butler Electric by December 31st. Staff now recommends that Butler Electric should work collaboratively with staff, the New Jersey Division of Rate Counsel, and the investor-owned electric and gas public utilities as applicable to develop a proposal to deliver EE programs to Butler Electric customers that is compliant with the Clean Energy Act and consistent with the requirements for utility programs as outlined in the board's June 2020 order. Staff recommends that Butler Electric submit a proposal by October 1st, 2021 that includes a plan to implement programs from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024 to align with the current 3-year program cycle of utility administered EE programs. In developing the proposal, staff suggests that Butler Electric should explore with staff, Rate Counsel, and the other utilities options for funding these programs. If the proposal includes partnership with another utility such as PSE&G, which is the sole provider of gas in the Butler Electric service territory, staff recommends that Butler Electric should propose an approach to allocating costs and energy savings attributable to the programs. Staff also recommends that the proposal should address provision of EE programs to Butler Electric customers who are not PSE&G customers. So that summarizes our recommendation to you on Butler.
So moved.
Second.
Butler is a municipal system, and we obviously don't normally regulate municipal systems, but since Butler does service communities outside of its own border, it comes under our regulations. So this is an attempt to obviously get these energy efficiency programs available to Butler residents in those communities that it serves. Are there any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Friuliso.
Yes. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
You too. Good job. That brings us to 8D. And Mr. Hunter, I think you're up for 8D and 8E.
Yes, sir.
How are you, Scott?
Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners. Item 8D relates to the petitions of Holocene Clean Energy, or HCE, regarding its River Road Solar and its Stryker Road Solar projects for the return of the escrow deposited that the petitioner provided as part of its applications filed pursuant to subsection R of the Solar Act of 2012. Since the petitions submitted are identical as far as the circumstances and the facts and the relief requested, staff is presenting the petitions together in one agenda item. Subsection R of the Solar Act of 2012 required that the board evaluate proposed grid supply projects not seeking approval under subsections Q, R, S, or T, for which applications are submitted on or after June 1st of 2016. During the implementation of subsection R, on May 23rd of 2018, the Clean Energy Act was signed by the governor. Among the provisions relative to the two petitions, the Clean Energy Act mandated the board close the SREC registration program upon the state's attainment of 5.1% of its electricity from solar electric generation facilities. And the act also added an escrow requirement for all solar generation facilities over 25 kilowatts that filed applications after the act's enactment. The escrow amount shall be forfeited to the state if the facility is designated as connected to the distribution system pursuant to this subsection, but does not commence commercial operations within 2 years following the date of the designation by the board. On January 17, 2019, in light of the Clean Energy Act and the steps taken to implement subsection R, the board issued an order directing staff to seek comment from all interested parties on the further steps required to be taken to implement R, subsection R, and the expressions of interest received pursuant to the rules. Staff posted the request for comments on capacity on February 11th, 2019, with comments due February 22nd, 2019. By order dated February 27th, 2019, the board approved the opening of an application round for solar electric generation facilities seeking SREC approval pursuant to subsection R. And the window was from March 1st to March 14th, and the application form and escrow agreement were made available at that time. On March 1st, 2019, staff distributed the application and escrow agreement via email to the parties that responded to that request for public comments, and posted the application form on its webpage and the Clean Energy Program webpage. Any company applying for eligibility for SRECs under subsection R with a valid expression of interest submitted in 2016 and 17 was required to submit the application package by March 14th, 2019. We received a total of 5 subsection R applications before the 5 p.m. deadline, and 3 of the 5 applications were submitted by this petitioner. By order dated March 29th, 2019, the board conditionally approved all 5 applications. On March 29th, 2019, the board conditionally approved the 5 applications pursuant to subsection R. Designation of eligibility was conditioned upon, for SRECs, was conditioned upon the applicant's demonstration of commencement of commercial operations before the board determined that 5.1% of retail sales were supplied by solar kilowatt hours. The board found that should a conditionally approved project not commence commercial operations prior to the board's determination that the 5.1% milestone has been achieved, the project may not be eligible for an SREC, but may be eligible for an alternative incentive to be determined in an upcoming proceeding. 3 of the 5 subsection R applications have commenced commercial operations. 2 subsection R applications commenced commercial operations prior to the April 30th deadline for SREC eligibility. And the 3rd application, which was also submitted by this petitioner in March 2019, commenced commercial operations in May 2020 and has been certified as eligible for TRECs. On September 1st, 2020, HCE submitted petitions for the return of escrow the company deposited for the 2 projects which it sought designation as connected to the distribution system pursuant to subsection R. In the petitions, the petitioner represents that the board provided no guidance by way of rule or order as to what the incentive following the SREC program would be prior to opening the subsection R application process, and that the board had a duty to provide this specific information on the future level of incentives. Petitioner states that its project became economically infeasible as a result of the TREC factor assigned to rooftop subsection R projects, and the factor came as a complete surprise when the TREC order was issued in December 2019, and that the petitioner had no reason to suspect that the successor incentive might not be as favorable as the SREC. Petitioner also contends that its project was undermined by the board's rules on SREC market closure. Staff disagrees with the arguments made by the petitioner, and the responses to the February 11th, 2019 request for comments indicate that they had an awareness of the uncertainty surrounding the amount of incentive that would be available, and that applications approved after October 29, 2018 must commence commercial operations prior to the milestones attainment, and that its own projects may not make that cutoff. Staff believes that the record demonstrates that the petitioner filed its application to develop these projects with full understanding that they might not be completed in time to be eligible for the SREC registration program, and that the transition incentive to follow was not yet known, and that representations as to the amount of the incentive or time at which it would be known had been made. Staff recommends that the board deny the petitions.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Scott? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fialisa.
Yes. 8E, Scott, I think you're on that one too, the transition incentive rules.
Yes, sir. 8E relates to staff's recommendation regarding the transition incentive program rules in the New Jersey Administrative Code at Title 14, Chapter 8, Subchapter 10.3D, which requires that 100% of TRECs, transition renewable energy certificates, generated by eligible solar projects be automatically transferred via an irrevocable standing order upon creation to the joint account of the New Jersey Electric distribution companies in the generation attribute tracking system. The Clean Energy Act of 2018 required the board to close the SREC registration program to new market entrants upon the state's attainment of 5.1% of its retail sales from solar electric generation facilities, to modify or replace the SREC program, and to encourage the continued efficient and orderly development of solar throughout the state. As part of the solar transition planning process, on December 6, 2019, the board ordered the creation of the Transition Incentive Program and TRECs to ensure a smooth and efficient transition from the SREC registration program to a new solar successor incentive program, which is currently under development. The Transition Incentive Program was further refined through board orders issued in January and March of 2020, and a rule proposal for the program was approved by the board in May 2020, with comment due in July. The transition incentive rules were adopted by the board in September and became effective upon publication in the New Jersey Register on October 5th. Transition incentive rule at 8-10.3D requires the irrevocable standing order be created for each eligible TREC project. The standing order will cause the automatic transfer of TRECs created by an eligible project to the EDC's joint GATS account. The irrevocable standing order for each project shall require for that generator that 100% of the certificates be automatically transferred from each meter reading to the EDC's account. Staff learned in September that TREC eligible projects and their project owners were establishing GATS accounts and executing their standing orders for the projects, often with a significant lag following their project's commencement of commercial operations. As a result, the GATS account holders must manually transfer to the TREC administrator any TRECs created prior to the activation of the standing order, which may not occur for some months. The electricity produced by these projects before the execution of a standing order will not be eligible for the creation of a TREC, where we strictly to interpret and enforce the rule. Staff does not believe that making electricity generated by an otherwise eligible project before standing order execution was an intended result of the rule, but rather conflicts with the board's policy goal of providing a smooth transition from SRECs to a successor program. Staff recommends that the board waive the administrative code at Title 14, 8-10.3D1I and 10.3D3II, only insofar as it relates that 100% of the TRECs generated for any project registered in the Transition Incentive Program be transferred pursuant to the standing order. More precisely, staff recommends that the board waive this requirement only with respect to the energy otherwise eligible, TI eligible projects generate prior to the date a standing order is activated. Staff further recommends that the board direct staff to initiate a rulemaking proceeding to amend the TI rules such that this waiver will no longer be necessary.
So moved.
Questions, comments for Scott?
Just so, Mr. President, Scott, just the agenda item in the order shows 8F, so just want to see. I think it's 8D it should be, so just a minor thing.
The order says it's 8F.
F, yeah.
Yeah, it had originally intended to be, but
Right, that's what I got.
we edited.
To be consistent, I thought I noticed that. Yeah, thank you.
I'll make that correction once I finalize the order.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelisa.
Yes, thank you, Scott, and have a good holiday.
Thank you.
That brings us to 8F and Kathleen Lewis regarding the incentive program for electric vehicles.
Yes, thank you. Now, I
Where
have
are
my
you?
I have my camera on, but it shows a blank screen, and it just happened about 30 seconds ago.
That happened to me on a call the other day too. And
Well-
I just figured that people didn't want to look at me.
It's okay.
Well, I can stop my camera and you can see my picture.
Okay, there you go.
Have the
least you-
Russians gotten into your software?
Chinese.
I certainly hope not. It may be because I have 2 virtual schools running in the rooms next door to me.
Okay, there you go.
But I apologize.
That's all right. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, wonderful. So on Monday, a secretary's letter was issued announcing that as of December 15th, the post-purchase EV incentive program would be closed. This announcement was necessary due to the success of the post-purchase program and the current projections that the FY21 budget will be exhausted by sales made on or prior to December 15th. This action was taken after careful consideration and based on projections to ensure that the program stayed within the budget provided by the board. Residents who purchased eligible vehicles on or before December 15th must apply online by March 15th. In June 2020, the board approved a compliance filing that targeted fall 2020 as the launch of the second stage of the program, the point of sale incentive. Given that the funds are expected to be fully utilized, staff recommends postponing the point of sale incentive program until summer 2021 after the board has approved the FY22 budget. And this board order would do so, and we recommend that we postpone that until summer of 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you for all the work that you have done regarding electric vehicles. And we have a steep hill to climb as far as getting the electrification of our transportation to be realized, whether it's public transportation or you and I driving a car. So when you talk about 46% of our carbon emissions comes from transportation, it certainly is a big nut to crack, and one that we're making wonderful advancements toward, even though it is a steep hill. And a lot of that credit goes to your efforts, and I want to thank you. And as you indicated, we announced the successful conclusion of the first phase of our Charge Up New Jersey EV incentive program. Governor Murphy announced the Charge Up New Jersey in January, and we started issuing incentives in May, providing incentives to residents for eligible new electric vehicles. With the post-purchase phase 1 of the program winding down on December 15th, which was actually yesterday, we're on track to disperse an estimated $30 million in incentives, resulting in nearly 6,000 new electric vehicles on the road across New Jersey. By any measure, New Jersey's electric vehicle incentive program has been a resounding success. New Jerseyans are even more enthusiastic for electric vehicles than we really initially anticipated. And I think part of that is because we're also addressing the infrastructure necessary to charge those electric vehicles and hopefully reducing range anxiety. Residents are making the switch to electric vehicles and want to be part of the solution to reduce their carbon footprint and fight climate change. And when you're talking about 46% of the carbon in the air being from transportation, it is certainly a worthy goal to work toward. I think now we're looking to the next phase of the program, which will be an enhanced version of the program that I hope will launch in summer of 2021, as Kathleen mentioned, the start of the state's next fiscal year. In phase two, consumers will be given the incentive at the time of purchase, right in the dealership showroom when they buy their new electric vehicle, and not have to wait for the incentive check to come into the mail. Electrifying transportation is a key pillar in our energy master plan and will help us achieve the vision the governor has for 100% clean energy by 2050. We look forward to launching the second act of this popular program as we work toward the governor's goal of 330,000 electric vehicles by 2025. Based on the program's rate of application approval, the administrator projects that most of the program's FY 2021 funding will be allocated by the end of the calendar year. We selected December 15th as the appropriate purchase and lease cutoff date to ensure residents have adequate time to receive and register their new electric vehicles, and that funding will be available. The application portal will remain open through March 15, 2021. This devastating COVID-19 pandemic has reinforced the importance of clean air and public health. The electric vehicle program is one way that the BPU is supporting both of these things. Electrifying our transportation will eliminate pollution and lower our carbon emissions to fight climate change and keep New Jerseyans safe for future generations, which, as you've heard me say, is the greatest moral obligation of our time. Any other comments or questions for Kathleen? Roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Kathleen, thank you very much, and happy holidays to you.
Thank you, and you as well.
Thank you. All right, there's nothing under miscellaneous, but that does now bring us to late starter A. And Ariane, I think you're up for this particular one, so fill us in.
All right. Hello, Mr. President, Commissioners. This matter is with regards to the Community Solar Energy Pilot Program. By order dated October 2nd, 2020, the board approved the application process and form for program year 2 of the Community Solar Energy Pilot Program. On October 19th, 2020, Gable Associates filed a motion for reconsideration regarding several elements of this order. NJAC 14:1-8.7C provides, with respect to motions for rehearing or reconsideration, that any motion which is not granted or expressly acted upon by the board within 60 days of the filing thereof shall be deemed denied unless the parties are otherwise notified in writing by the board or its secretary. In order to fully review this motion for reconsideration, staff recommends that the board approve an extension to the review of the motion. If this extension is approved, the motion will therefore not be deemed denied and shall instead remain open pending the board's issuance of a final decision.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments for Ariane? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fialiso.
Yes, thank you, Ariane, and happy holidays to you.
Thank you, and to you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Again, I want to wish everyone a peaceful and happy holiday season. And I know we all look forward to 2021, and that's the next time we will see you as far as a board meeting is concerned. So let's bring in the new year with a lot of optimism and a lot of gumption and a lot of celebration in your home. And so stay safe. Again, take care of one another as we go along. Entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Moved.
Second,
Yeah, second, yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very, very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Aye.